Vera,
But
just
I
to
am
let you
very,
know, they are filling up the chat with the coolest things that they've done with AI lately. So
excellent. Thank
those
you
will be
so
fun to
much.
read through.
I knew you guys could entertain them for a minute. Okay, great. And oh, we got some great stuff in there. Okay, great. Well, we'll skip my opener. We'll talk about that later. But working with Curriculum Genie, um, playing around with Notebook LM. I absolutely love Notebook LM, Jenny. And there's a lot of cool updates coming for it too. I can't get started talking about that or I won't get through anything else today. But there's a lot of great stuff coming for that. Creating an escape room, creating a banner, using Gemini to create a syllabus, Canva code. I love Canva code. I did a webinar on that recently. If you didn't get to come to that, it is on our website. Using Briss to give feedback, analyzing student responses. Awesome. So you guys are, it sounds like we have a bunch of rock stars in the room. I always enjoy that. I am going to switch my tab right here and make sure that Lauren has put the Canva link in the chat. And so if you haven't already had an opportunity to do so, it would be helpful to have that open because there are some links to click in that presentation for some resources that we're going to use today. And so we will go ahead and that we'll keep dropping that chat in the link. And somebody has dropped the link also to our previous webinars, so I appreciate that as well. And I was going to have you put something in the chat also about a problem that you wish you could automate, but we're going to just kind of let you mull that over for a few minutes. And when we get ready to start building some gems, that's something we'll share then. Because we're going to hopefully have you build a gem today that will help you solve one of those issues that you're dealing with. So be thinking about one of the parts of your job that is kind of drudgery that you wish you could automate and that you wish you had an assistant to take care of. And we'll come back to that in a minute since you guys have already had some great chat conversation. And so I'm going to go ahead and keep going. What we're going to do today, this is going to be an interactive webinar geared toward the K-12 space, which is you all. And we're going to learn to create and use gems and how to streamline professional tasks, design innovative student-centered learning, explore practical applications that are aligned with North Carolina standards. We always want to keep our standards at the center. And so there's a little bit of an agenda there, but I'm just going to kind of keep going. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Vera Cabero, and I'm the Emerging Technologies Consultant. I serve statewide in North Carolina, and there's all of my contact information. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. We also have lots of wonderful consultants on the call. I know I've seen Lauren, Lindsay, Brian. I imagine Stacy's lurking somewhere, and I've got too many people and can't see her. Jennifer's here. And so we have consultants in every region, if you're not aware of that. And they do amazing professional development within the regions. And so those are also listed on our website. So make sure you reach out if your district needs professional development. I am going to keep moving along. So our learning objectives today, we're going to talk about what a gem is and how it functions. We're going to create a personalized gem. We're going to try out some ready-made ones, then create a personalized one to meet one of those needs that we're going to think about. And then we'll talk also about some best practices for writing gems and kind of what's on the roadmap for Google. They made a lot of great announcements last week at ISTE, and some of them did have to do with gems, which we will talk about a little bit. So first of all, engaging with the webinar on this slide, which is slide 5, there are additional links that we do want you to have open if you can multi-tab. If you're a multitasker, these would all be very helpful because the prompts sometimes can get a little bit lengthy. And I put them into a companion document to make them easy access for you to copy and paste from when we start building gems in a little bit. And then there's also a file there for uploading because you can add knowledge bases to your gems. And just to save time, because we're on limited time span, I've just uploaded a bunch of different standards and the North Carolina guidelines, the portrait of a graduate, and then a blog post into that folder, just so you can have something easily accessible and you don't have to go out and try to find your particular standards if you don't have them handy. And then there is a link to a Padlet, and the Padlet is available for sharing. We can't share our gems at this time. That's one of the updates they announced that is coming, but you can share your prompts like I've done in the Google Docs. So if you have created something amazing you want to share, I want to give you a place to do that. Or if you have any other resources that you want to share, then that Padlet will be there for that purpose. And so when you open those, you will see the document looks like this. And I see a lot of people on it already. And so it has a bunch of just different prompts to create different types of gems in it. And when we have some work time in a few minutes, those will be some that you can pull from and you can edit to suit yourself and use. And then this is the Padlet. I've got the resources there as well. And you can also add to that. And then this is the folder. You can see just a bunch of random standards and things that are in there. So you should be able to access all of those. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on past that. And first of all, talk about what a gem is. And a gem is like a GPT. In ChatGPT, they call it a custom GPT. And there are other tools that let you create something similar, but it is where you're creating your own custom chatbot. In this case, it's a custom version of Gemini, the Gemini large language model. And it is now the 2.5 model, which is a fantastic model. It's one of the best large language models on the market. And Gemini recently has made that free for all educators. And so anybody with an education account now has access to that and has access to Gemini for free, and they have access to create gems for free if you're over 18, which I hope all of you are. And so if you're under 18, that's a little different story. We'll talk about that a little later. And so basically, it's like creating your own personalized assistant. I know as a teacher, I often wished I had 4 or 5 assistants instead of the 0 that I had. And this is a way now that you can really personalize these gems and create them to kind of take care of some of the drudgery in your job. So you can have time to do what you went into education for, which is connecting with your students and learning about them and help meeting their needs individually and as a group. And so it's really something that can really help. And there was actually a study that came out very recently from the Walton Family Foundation, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they actually found in that study that teachers who use AI regularly, which was only about 40% of the teachers, but they save an average of 6 hours a week, or 5.5, something like that. But it equates to about 6 weeks in a school year that they save if they're good, competent users of AI. And these gems are a thing that can really help you save even more time. And so if you think of it, it's like creating a specialized calculator instead of just a calculator that does everything. Maybe you want a calculator that just solves for quadratic equations or some other kind of specialized use. As this image shows, though, whatever you do, whatever kind of gems you're going to create today or in the future, it's all going to be running on that base model, which is Gemini 2.5, which is a fantastic model. And it is actually it also runs on Gemini's Learn LM model, which is a model that is specifically built for learning. And so it operates a little different than others. If you give it a question that makes it obvious that you're trying to learn something, it kind of goes into tutor mode. And so you can play around with Gemini some other time, but that's kind of the base model that is going to be running your gems in the background. Okay, so this is just a little thing from Google that I borrowed from them about what it is. What is a gem? And basically it's making your own custom expert. And as you can see here, they have some that are already made. And so we're going to actually try some of their slide was just fancier than mine, so I threw it in there. But we're going to try some of their pre-made gems in a minute. But first of all, talk about why you would want to create custom chatbots instead of just prompting an AI over and over again to do these things. First of all, this will streamline those dull, repetitive tasks, like I said, to make time for more important tasks. But also, if you're writing a good, well-developed, well-crafted prompt, it's going to take some time. You're not going to get good results if you say, create me a lesson plan on the quadratic equation. I think we all know that by this point. And so if you put the time into writing a good, well-developed prompt and adding some context to it, possibly uploading some files for it to reference, that takes some time. And if you have to turn around tomorrow and do the same prompt again, and you're doing it again next week, that's a lot of time. And so what you're doing basically with the gem is you're prompting, you're training this chatbot with that prompt, so that the next time you use it, you don't have to put the prompt in, you don't have to upload the files. It's just kind of ready to go, so you can just go to it and start asking for your requests. And so it's a huge time saver, but it also increases the consistency between one use and the next. I won't say that it makes it 100% consistent, because if you've used AI much, you know that it does tend to be a little bit inconsistent, but it increases the consistency a lot because it has the same reference sources, it has the same instructions every time. And then it allows you to kind of personalize things for your classroom, for your individual classroom. This is not teachers pay teachers, where you, first of all, you don't have to pay for it. Yay. Second of all, you're not just taking something random that someone else made and then trying to customize it to your needs. You customize it from the beginning to your own needs, your own curriculum, your own students, your own classroom, your own pedagogical approaches that your school uses, your own lesson planning format. All of those things you can train into it so that it is very personalized for you and your students. And it allows you to supply your own knowledge base. So it makes the tool a lot more relevant and tailored to you. Okay, any questions so far? We're going to get into looking at some gems in a minute. I see Brian has put some information in there, kind of reiterating what I've said, but I don't see any questions. So if I'm missing one, somebody let me know. Or if anybody has one before we get started or continue. Hey, wait time's not my strength, but I'm going to move along. I'll stop if I see something pop up. But I have moved to the next slide. So why Google Gems? So I've already mentioned ChatGPT has something like this called custom GPTs, which I've made a lot of, and I really like them. But guess what? You can't do that for free. ChatGPT only allows you to make GPTs if you are a paid user. And you can use them if you're a free user, but you will run into daily limits pretty quickly in using them. And so for that reason, since Gemini made this free for everybody, and it runs on their model, that is a biggie. But also, because Gemini for education is different than other Gemini. Like if you have a personal Gemini account, it's going to not have the data privacy and security that your Gemini for education account has, because Gemini has a special plan for education, even for the free versions, even if your school is on standard and they don't pay a dime for your Google Workspace account. There is increased data privacy in the educational environment. So they will not train on your data. There's extra privacy around it. We still, of course, have to be careful. But basically, it is what's called a core service. And so it has the same data privacy agreement as your Google Drive. Anything you put in Google Docs or anything like that has the same privacy in Gemini as you have there. So that's a biggie. In education, we have to be especially concerned with that privacy component. But you also need to make sure that you remember that when you are in your EDU account, which is whatever your school account is, you have more privacy. But if you go and open your personal account, you don't have that privacy. Or if you go to a personal ChatGPT account. So we don't want to get too relaxed with using AI in any case, but it's important to know that. And then that we've already mentioned that it's that powerful Gemini 2.5 model. And they've now integrated it with Google Workspace. And so you can access anything in your Google Drive from your Gemini. From when you're creating a gem, you can pull files straight from your Google Workspace. And I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. And then, of course, you can customize it to meet your own needs. And so the knowledge base, what you can add to your gem, it is important to know that you can only add 10 items to it, so 10 files. And so you can't put the entire North Carolina Standard Course of Study in there, but you could put your Standard Course of Study and potentially a couple more. And so that's important to remember. But a little tip that I will give you is if you have more than 10 files you want to add to a gem, you could pull them into something like PDF Mergy and merge them together into one file, as long as they're on the same topic, and then that gives you 9 extra slots. If you're creating a gem that you need a particularly large number of files for, then that could potentially work. So kinds of things you might want to add to your gems. First of all, I would always add your standard course of study. Everything that you do needs to be standards aligned. And so that's the first one. I would almost always do that. If you're doing something related to AI, you're incorporating in AI in any way, you could add the North Carolina AI guidelines. I really encourage you also to pull in that North Carolina Portrait of the Graduate, because those are the skills that are really going to help our students going forward, those durable skills there. And as Lauren put in there, PDF Candy is a free suite of tools. Um, Putting it in a zip file wouldn't really work because it will only pull from PDFs, docs, things like that. So it won't pull as, I don't think. I haven't actually specifically tried that, Melissa, but I don't think it would pull from a zip file. Okay, we could try it and see, but so, of course, you could add your classroom syllabus, you could add custom lesson plans, your school's mission and vision statements, any kind of pedagogical approach that your school is using, if they're using DOK, if they're using Bloom's taxonomy, whatever that your school system has asked you to align your lessons with, those would also be good things to add. And in other frequently used resources, maybe a packet of information that you want it to pull from, the content that you're teaching. So all of those are ideas of things that you might potentially add to a gem. We'll talk about some current limitations. As I've already said, right now it is only available for users 18 and up. And I have not previously talked about gems or trained on gems because you cannot share them at this point. You can't share them with your colleagues. You can't share them with your students. But one of the announcements that Google just made recently is that that is coming. The ability to share your gems with your colleagues, to work with them, is coming. And the ability to share your gems with your students, to interact with them, is coming. And so they're going to have a way that you can share them in Google Classroom as an assignment. And they're going to have a way that you can just share a link where they can go in and interact with them, is my understanding. And so for Google, they said that's coming in the coming months. And so that hopefully will be soon. I've got some inside information that says they're trying to really get that out before school starts. And so I hope that they do. So because of that, I feel like it is worth sharing Google Gems now. The integration with Google Classroom has already rolled out, and I'll show you that. It started rolled out on June 30th, and some of you may not have it yet, but I'll show you what it looks like if you do have it. If you don't have it, then you'll see. And also, it's also always important to remember anything with Google Workspace for Education, you're going to be limited occasionally by your Google administrator in your school district. They could have it turned off completely for you. They could have it turned off for, so that's something that you have to contend with sometimes. Hopefully that won't be the case, but we're going to talk about how to access it, and then we're going to go in and kind of look around at it. This is showing it from Gemini. And so as you can see, when you go to Gemini in the left-hand column now, there should be something that says Explore Gems. And then when you do, there'll be some pre-made gems at the top. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go to Gemini now and show you that. And then we'll look at the classroom in a minute. So if I go to Gemini, which I'm already in there, I'm going to start, I'm going to say, okay, I was creating something. So I'm in my chat here. And if you see there on the left, I've got a couple of gems that I've prepared for this. I'm in a different account so that I can have the same. I'm in my trainer account, which is education, because NCDPI doesn't have an education account, so ours is different. So I'm in a different account and I don't have a lot of usage in it, but I did create a couple for demonstration. But you'll see there on the left, there's something that says Explore Gems. And so when you click that, it will open just like you saw it on the screen there. And here are some that are pre-made by Google, and we're going to take time in a minute to kind of explore some of those. And then your gems will be at the bottom. So when you create some gems, you'll be able to see them at the bottom. And the new gem, when you click a new gem, that's how you start a new gem. Okay, so we're going to go to that in a minute. I'm going to go back to the presentation for a couple of seconds first. And so that's where you find your gems. I'll show you in Google Classroom, and I'm curious to know how many people do have it in Google Classroom already. And so in your Google Classroom, I'm in my Google Classroom home. And if you go open your Google Classroom, I know you're going to have like 45 tabs open. But if you open your Google Classroom in another tab, then on the left over here, there should be a tab that says Gemini. Does everybody have that? Anybody tell me if you don't? Everybody have that? It's there? Excellent. Okay. So if you click Gemini there, then you're going to see something else super exciting that they rolled out at ISTE that I could get really lost in showing you, and everybody could get really lost in playing with, but please don't save it for after the webinar. But they are coming for Magic School and School AI because they've now created all of these amazing teacher tools right here that are 100% free for educators. And so these are the kinds of things that you see on the Magic School homepage. I'm so sorry, Heather. You can access a lot of this in your personal account. It'll just look a little different. So if your district has it turned off, I will certainly help you advocate for it to be turned on if you if you would like for me to do that, but we don't have any authority there to really make anybody turn it on. But you can test it out in your personal account. It'll just be a little different than the educator version. For one, you won't see all of these amazing tools. Those are just for the education version. Okay, but you can just open up a tab and sign into a personal account and hopefully get it that way. Hopefully everybody else has it. I'm really sad that somebody doesn't have access to it because it's really a fantastic tool. But then under those tools, it says explore more AI tools, and you've got the Gemini app right there. And then this middle one is Gemini, and then the right one is Notebook LM. And so there's a lot of fantastic updates about that as well that are coming. Oh, hi, Alana. Haven't seen you in forever. It's got a couple of previous people I've worked with here. So good to see you. Good to see you, Melissa. And so I'm going to go ahead and click the Create a Gem one, and you'll see that when I do that, it's going to look the same way. It goes right into it, just like if I went into it in Gemini. So you can launch it from Google Classroom. You can launch it from Gemini. Okay, I'm going to look at a couple more slides before we dig in and start actually working on this. And it looks like a lot of people do have it, which is fantastic. So what we have as of today, Gemini for Education has access. I showed you all of that. And we talked about the admin requirements. The admin can enable it or disable it. As we've already seen, someone in the group does not have it enabled. They can also configure sharing permission. So whether you can share things, whether you can't, when that becomes available, that will be controlled by your Google administrator. And then they can manage access for different age groups. Gemini has actually rolled out to all ages now. And that's something I've shared with CTOs. We don't recommend at this time that elementary school students engage with chatbots, but they have made theirs available for all ages. It was available for 13 and up for a while. Now they've made it all ages, and they are planning on making Notebook LM available for all ages as well. And so that all is coming, but your admin will be in charge of whether that happens in your district or not. Okay, the timeline for features, individual use only was in July. The visual enhancements, they're going to add some interactives and visuals to it in the future. And the gem sharing, they said the coming months. And then the classroom integration is actually already rolled out. They had said the coming months, but that one rolled out pretty quickly. And so the rest of that, the current workaround, and I've already shown you how to do my example of that, but for now, until you can share them, the workaround that I recommend is put your prompts into a Google Doc. And so that's what that doc I've shared with you. If you want to share, you can just put your instructions into a Google Doc. Okay, so we're going to actually go in and look at some pre-made gems first and give you a couple of minutes to engage with them, and then we're going to go into the creation component. And so, but if you go back to whichever way you want to get to it, through Gemini or through Classroom, if you would, on these top ones right here, there are several gems there. I think I saw more of them when I went through Classroom for some reason. Let me see. So whoops. Okay, so if I went to, okay, so if I go to, well, that goes straight into the creation. Well, I'm only seeing 4 right at the time. I thought there were more than 4, but at any rate, we have 4 different ones here that we can try out. There's a brainstormer, a career guide, a coding partner, a chess champ. And so I'm just going to click on the brainstormer one. And if you'll see that when it loads, it has some little starter prompts here. And I thought I saw a show more on mine, but it wasn't showing just then unless I missed it. Thank you. So there might be more than that. Let me see. Did I miss it? Oh, there's the show more. I wasn't seeing it for a moment. Okay, so there's one for Spanish coaching. There's a writing editor, coding partner, career guide, and brainstormer. And so when I click them, and I have to learn how to do this. I don't know how to put these starter prompts there. That's one thing I was going to try to figure out. So maybe someone else can teach me that. But it does give you some little starter things that you can click. Like I want to improve my presentation skills, help me figure out how to advocate with my manager for a promotion, how do I prepare for a job interview, give me advice on how to find a mentor. And so I'm just going to click that first one. I'd like to improve my presentation skills. And as you can see, it works just like a chatbot, just like a large language model, but it's trained specifically on this particular topic. Is a Spanish coach for learning Spanish or a tutor who teaches Spanish in any given context? I don't know that I speak enough Spanish to tell you that. If anybody speaks Spanish and wants to read that explanation, we could, of course, get Gemini to translate it for us. We could copy it and paste it into Gemini and it would translate it for you, but I'm not sure what the purpose of it was. But demonstrating this one, so I've got my ideas here for presentation skills development, and it says, how does this plan look to you? Would you like to revise or change anything? And so it will give you a prompt to encourage you to complete that iterative process of engaging with it. And so I want to just set about a 3-minute timer and just give you time to explore a couple of those pre-made gems. And that'll give you some ideas when we get ready to make our own gems in just a second. So I'm starting a timer now. If anybody has any questions or comments while that's going on, then we'll certainly take time to answer those as well. But give you time to explore a couple of the pre-made gems. Glad you're enjoying it, Katie. Okay, about 30 more seconds for exploring and interacting with some of the gems. And then we're going to get into the hands-on creation portion for the remainder of our time. Okay, so we've had 3 minutes to kind of explore the pre-made gems. Is there anybody who wants to come off mute or drop something in the chat about which one you explored and what you thought about it? Okay. I know some of you are not shy. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the creation portion, but I told you at the beginning to be pondering and thinking about something. And so now's the time to kind of pull that up into your memory. Now that you've explored some gems and you've been mulling about how they might help you, I would like for you to put in the chat, like, what is a problem? What's something that takes a lot of your time that you might be able to potentially train a gem to take care of for you? So somebody said Gemini's not on for the school, but is on for the Google Classroom. That's interesting. That might be something to check then who our Winston-Salem friends were, to go to Google Classroom and see if it's on there. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Can I build gems through the classroom or just need to build my prompts on a document? You should be able to, Alana, if you go to Google Classroom and when you click the Create a Gem button, if it opens like this and you have a new gem plus new gem, then you should be able to create. I don't have Google Classroom. Okay, so you don't even have access to it. All right. Okay, lesson planning and grading. Anyone else? Pop something in the chat about how you can save time. What's something you can do to save time? Lesson planning, that same Walton Family Survey that I mentioned earlier, they also had some how people used, how the teachers who use AI use it the most, and lesson planning was the #1 thing. And it is great for lesson planning because it really, like we talked about, really lets you kind of narrow it down. Anybody else have something to put in the chat about a task that you could use, potentially create a gem to do for you?
Vera?
Yes.
I had the same situation where it didn't appear in Gemini, but it appeared in Google Classroom. And then once I used it just a second ago, it now appears in Gemini also.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you. I'm not sure why that is, but that's good to know. So anybody else who wasn't able to access it, hopefully that will work for some other folks. So we've got helping students become familiar with the library and finding books, translating lessons to Spanish, grading essays, giving feedback on work, automated emails and reports. Okay, so we've got some really good ideas. And what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the creation part. And this was these are just a couple of the pre-made ones. But I just want to remind everybody that that crafting your prompt is very important. The well-crafted prompt is super important with your gem, as it is with anything else you do with AI. If you give it kind of lame prompts as if you're Googling for something, you're going to get lame responses that are very generic. And so this is the prompting framework that we've shared before. Yeah. So somebody said letting the Gemini answer the same question 20 times instead of me sounds like a dream. I agree with that. But this framework is one that we created to share to help people learn how to prompt effectively and engage with the tool effectively. And the same things apply when you're creating a chatbot. When you're creating your own chatbot, assigning it a role is helpful. Giving it lots and lots of context is the most important thing, though. The context, if you pretend that it is your assistant, somebody has paid for you to have a full-time assistant, you're giving them instructions for how you want things done. You wouldn't just say, hey, create me a lesson on the solar system and walk out of the room and expect it to meet your needs. You need to be very, very specific and clear about what you want, and so you need to think of this as your assistant. You want to be just as specific and clear with your instructions. Make sure that you clarify who the audience is. It's going to be very different for a 2nd grader versus a 10th grader. Specify the format that you want the output in. You can tell it that you want a table, you want a bulleted list, you want a chart, you want an essay, you want a poem, whatever you want, and then giving it a clear task, a clear action to take care of on your behalf. And tone is also optional. I've also added some power-ups over here for some of the newer models. Like sometimes if it's a very complex thing, you might want to ask it to kind of show its thought process. And Gemini 2.5 is capable of doing that. I don't like the fact that they call it thinking and they call it a thought process, but they do. I like to call it processing, but and then also remember it is multimodal, that sometimes you can add different types of files to it. And then objectivity, as educators, we just need to keep that in front of mind all the time, that these tools are not objective. They are biased by default because we are biased and they're trained on our data. And so you always want to prompt for objectivity. Like if you're asking for if you're creating math problems, for example, you want to say use names that represent a lot of cultural differences in the classroom. You don't want them all to be named Tom, Sam, Lucy, and whatever. You want to make sure that it reflects the individuals in your class and the students see themselves in whatever you're creating, whether it's a story, word problems, whatever it is. And so just think about that. You also want to make sure that it's fair and balanced. So prompting that way, say, give me a fair, balanced, objective response. Make sure that you're not, that's a good way to make sure that you don't put your own biases into it, which sometimes we're blind to our own biases. So it's really important to remember that as well. And so now to create your own gem, I've already shown you how to get there, but there is, and I'm going to walk through one. So we're going to just kind of walk through this together. First of all, looking at the document that I shared with you, because of time, it would be easier if we just kind of pulled from that folder for your reference documents. I did put a lot of them in here, but I may not have all of the standards in there. But so, for example, if I'm going to create an ELA chatbot, I can go here and I can download it if you can't connect to Drive. Some people may have that turned off, or if I have that ability, I can connect to it. We can see that in a minute, whether you have access to that or not. But also, I've got the portrait of the graduate here. I've got the AI guidelines, and then a blog post. And so pull from this. There's some, if you look, scroll down, there's some reminders about prompting there. But if you go to page 2, there's some sample prompts here. And what I would like for everybody, just kind of scroll through there for a minute and choose one that you think might work for you and that might be helpful to you. And then we can edit it to suit your curriculum. If it says 8th grade social studies and you don't teach that, you can change that. So you can edit it. So and this document, I'll drop the link to in the chat too, just for easy reference. Actually, somebody beat me to it, Brian, thank you. And so you can open up that document. And then if you find one that you think you want to use, then you can just copy it straight from the document and have it copied. And then when we go in and create a gem, then you'll just be able to paste it right in and edit it to suit your needs. I'll give you just a minute to pick one. So there's a standards aligned lesson planner, which is what Melissa said would be helpful, formative assessment creator, reading comprehension coach, writing workshop assistant, math problem generator, science experiment. And remember also in a Google Doc, you have this sidebar that kind of walks you through and helps you click on things more quickly. And then there are some at the bottom for student learning as well. So there's a parent communication assistant. Somebody said a gem to help with emails in the chat when we asked what would you use it for. There's one there for that. There's not a translator gem, but you could certainly create one very easily. I think I had one on there and I opted to change it out. Lesson planning, and I don't have a library book one. So Jenny, maybe you could create one of those for us and share it with us. That would be great. A prompt if you want to. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Gemini then. And I am in a chat. This thing's always in my way. So I'm going to go back over here to Gems again because I had started one. And then this time I'm going to create one. So I'm going to go to New Gems. And as you can see, the first thing it's going to want you to do is give it a name. And so I'm going to call it Standards Aligned Lesson Planner. And I'm going to say 8th grade social studies because I'm going to upload that particular data set to it. So I'm going to paste my standard or my prompt in there, and it tells it how to greet the user. And then the prompt is, it says create a detailed lesson plan for my 7th grade, and I'm going to change that to 8th. But it is going to be social studies. And so there's one, and I like to kind of space my prompts out. I think it works better also for the models. And so I'm going to go and remember shift and enter will give you space. Just enter will submit. So you want to do a shift and an enter. And so for context, my students have varying levels of prior knowledge, so this will serve as an introductory lesson. I'd like the lesson to connect to a real-world example relevant to their community. And I'm going to put another space. Please provide the lesson plan in a structured format, include an engaging introduction, key activities, and a brief assessment. And so the next thing to do then is the knowledge base, and you'll see that right underneath there. If you click the plus, you have two options. You can connect to your Google Drive. Again, if your district has not turned that connection off, your Google administrator has the ability to turn that off, or you can upload a file. So if you click add from Google Drive and it doesn't work for you or gives you an error message, then you may need to go in and download a file instead and upload it. But mine does allow me to connect because I'm the Google administrator on this one. I get to make it do what I want. And so I'm going to go in and just pull my 8th grade standards. And I'm also going to pull my portrait of the graduate durable skills. And so I'm going to just click those two files and insert. And as you'll see, it adds them to the knowledge base. And apparently I clicked more than I realized. So I'm going to take a couple of them out. Oh, well, I'll add the AI guidelines as well. Okay, now also you can edit it if you want to edit that prompt. But I want to show you another thing. This is a little trick. I like to do my own thinking most of the time, but this little thing right here will rewrite your instructions. If your instructions are poor, if you click this little pencil right here, it will rewrite them for you in a format that will work better for Gemini. So I'm going to click it and just show you what it does. And I think it's good to put your own ideas down first and kind of think through what you want, but that is a helpful feature. And so it takes from my own writing, and of course I'm going to evaluate it, but it says purpose and goals, act as an expert curriculum designer, create a detailed lesson plan. So it's not changing what I wanted, but it's given some behavior and rules. Always greet the user. Once a standard is provided, ask additional context, and it gives some examples. And then lesson plan generation is step 2. So it formats it in a way that works better for the model. And so I would try that, then evaluate it and see if there's anything in it that you didn't like and change it if you do. And then it gives it the overall tone. And then the next thing is just to try it out. And so you can try it out by clicking that button over here. And then the first thing it's going to do is I'm just going to say hi just to test it. I'm going to figure out how they put those starter questions on this one. I can do that in ChatGPT, and I haven't figured out how to do it in Gemini. But for now, I'm just going to put hi in it. And so it will start with its greeting and ask me that question. And so what standard am I focusing on? And so I want to go and get one of my standards from my folder. And that thing is always in my way. I'm going to move it over here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my folder and look at my 8th grade standards and just copy one of them. If I can find them, there they are. And so I'm going to open my standards, and I'm going to just pick one randomly. Compare democratic rights and freedoms of various indigenous, religious, racial, gender, ability, and identity groups. So I'm going to put that standard in it. And let's see, I have way too many tabs open, so where is my actual gem? There it is. Okay. And so I'm going to paste my standard in to get it started because that's what it needs to start going. And then I'm going to enter it. And so you always want to make sure you iterate, check yours, make sure it behaves the way you want it to behave, and then iterate on it, fix it, make any corrections you want to. And then when you are ready, notice now it says it is not saved. And so unlike a Google Doc, which we are all spoiled to everything saving for itself, you do have to save these before they will. If I close that tab out right now, I would lose what work I have done so far. And so it's showing its thinking, and this is a reasoning model. If you're not familiar with that, if you click that show thinking, it will go through the process that the model, remember it's running that very powerful Gemini 2.5 reasoning model in the background, which gives you better responses. And so it's going through the process that it did. It's considering inclusive access. It is analyzing demographic groups. And then it's saying, do your students have any specific learning styles you prefer to address? What's the average class size? Are there common challenges your students face in social studies? So I'm going to say most are visual or auditory learners. Class size is, I'm going to be dreaming here, 20. Are there any common challenges your students face in social studies? So many read below grade level. Anybody have that situation, unfortunately? Okay. And a few are English language learners. So I'm going to give it specific context about my class again, so it's creating something that's going to be customized for me. And I'm going to see what we have in the chat. Yeah, the show thinking part. And again, I wish they didn't say thinking, but every single one of the models do. All of the reasoning models call it thinking, which flies in the face of us trying to teach the kids that they're not human, that they're AI, but it is pretty impressive to watch it happen. Okay, so it's showing its thinking again. And so it says, okay, and if I want to see its thinking, I can click that and kind of see what it did. It gathered information, it planned differentiation strategies, and then it gives me this lesson plan. And of course, I would want to evaluate it. I want to make sure that it's high quality. I want to make sure that it's the kind of activities I want, not just go read the chapter and answer the questions at the back of the book or whatever. But in the interest of time, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that right now, but you can go in and continue to engage with the model and iterate it until you get it perfect, just the way you want it. So don't ever just accept the first pass. Always evaluate it. You're the expert in your curriculum. You're the one with the nuanced understanding of your students in your classroom and how you like to do things and what kind of activities you want. And so you instruct it. Be bossy, be very clear and direct. These things don't get tired. Okay, so it's not going to get tired like your assistant would and kind of get snarky with you. It will continue as many times as you want it to until you might run into a limit sometime on the daily use, but you want to make sure that you're really evaluating it and making sure that it works for you. And so it's given me some differentiation strategy. It gives me a good visual auditory warm-up, displaying a collage of images depicting various aspects of American life, some showing democratic participation, others showing historical struggles for rights. Native American rights activism, play a short instrumental piece of music in the background. And then the differentiation piece of it, then it tells me a think, pair, share activity. Now, I probably wouldn't do 10 to 15 minutes in a think, pair, share in 8th grade. I don't know about you, so I might want to adjust that a little bit. I think, pair, share in about 5 minutes is going to, they're going 5 to maybe 8 minutes. So you can adjust things like that if you don't like it. And then the key activities, 1, defining rights and freedoms, brainstorming it. And so I could go in and say the think, pair, share is too long, make it 7 minutes. And so I can do whatever. And there's one thing that I've noticed that AI tools in general are not good at is timing, especially with students. These things are not teachers. They don't have our expertise in our students. And so don't feel like you have to do that just because it said it. You know your students and you know what they're capable of and what kind of issues might arise and things like that. So you always want to defer to your own knowledge and your own understanding. But I'm just going to make that change. And so you engage with it till you get it exactly like you want it. And then when you like it, you can go down here and you can copy that response, put it into a Google Doc, whatever your lesson planner, whatever you do with your lessons when you have it the way you want it. And then you want to save that gem. And so then the next time I want a standards aligned lesson, I just go back and use that same gem. And I could potentially add some other resources to it, but I don't have to type that big old prompt again. I don't have to have time to go upload all those resources again. And so I can just go over here to Explore Gems. And then under My Gems, there they are. And notice also that once you have a gem created, you have several options. You can make a copy of it. So maybe you teach 2 different things. Maybe you teach one social studies block and you teach ELA block. That's what I always did. And so if I want to make a copy of that, I could just change out the 8th grade social studies standards for English standards. And then I have one for my English class planning as well. And so that's a good feature. You can also just start a new chat from there. Or if you want to actually go in and change your prompts, your instructions, then you click the pencil button there. Okay. Any questions so far on that? We have about 7 or 8 minutes left. Any comments? Has anybody got one created that they want to share or talk about? And just as a reminder, if you have a good prompt made for a gem that you are willing to share, I welcome you to put it on that Padlet. You should just be able to go to the corner right there. Unfortunately, we can't share a link to our gems right now. Maybe the next time we do this kind of webinar on gems, we'll be able to do that. But if you want to share your prompt, I encourage you to do that. It may be helpful to someone else. Did anyone find that, did everybody click the little pencil to perfect it? Did everybody try that trick? Yeah, Jen, Lindsay wants it. Okay, that one you need to share. Okay, I always wondered what the pencil was for. That's what it's for. It's like your little magic AI assistant in Gemini. Okay, came in late. Will we get a recording of the whole meeting? The recording doesn't get emailed out, but it does get posted to our website, which somebody posted earlier. We have all of our recorded webinars on demand on our website, and so it will be on there. And I would love to hear from anybody else who wants to talk about it. Since we're unlimited gems, could we create one for each content grade that we work with in a building? You should be able to, yes. If there's a limit, I don't know about it. I've researched it and I have not found a limit. However, you might have a limit on Gemini. So if you create 10 gems and you use a bunch of gems in one day, you may reach your Gemini 2.5 limit for a day. And it may tell you you can't do anything else till tomorrow. But I don't see that there's a limit to the number of gems you can have. Okay, and Brian just dropped the webpage again for the AI recordings, all of the webinar recordings. We have about 5 minutes left. I'd love for you to continue building if you're in the middle of building something. And I can't read what the emoji says, but somebody dropped an emoji there. Okay. But I am going to just a few reminders, be really specific and clear. Vague instructions lead to vague results. Starting with URA is a good one. Make sure you refine. And then set those constraints and format. Again, AI is not great at knowing what you can do with a group of, angsty 8th graders in 60 minutes, but still you can tell it, I want 3 days of lesson plans. A copy of presentation, you should have the link. And you can I could give you the edit version and you could download it if you want to use it for something besides just viewing. Is that what you want, Melissa? Like a copy to share? Okay, let me do that real quick then. It will only allow you to view it, but I'll share the copy of it with you. Okay, let's see. I'll do that in just a minute at the end of the webinar. Let me get through the next few slides while I'm in presentation. Don't let me forget, okay? Somebody says it makes me spiral a bit, wondering if kids will eventually stop learning anything because AI can do it for them. All our jobs may be obsolete. Okay, and I will just say to that, I'll give you my little sermon on that, is that there's so much more to teaching than just creating lessons. You all know that if you're in a classroom. And it's actually one of the jobs that is in least danger, but we're going to have to start doing it differently. And that's a couple webinars I'm doing in September about transforming learning. We are going to have to start doing it differently. We can't keep teaching giving them worksheets and questions out of the book when they have a tool that can give them all the answers. But I also kind of liken it to when we started not having to do hard manual labor for a living and people's muscles started deteriorating, they created gyms, and people go to gyms specifically to work out their muscles. We're going to have to also have processes that make our students think, and they're going to have to involve AI because that's the future they're going into. And that's a whole different webinar. I have 2 in September that I invite you to attend, a two session series on that about how we can transform learning. And one of these gems that I've given you on creating micro PD, PBL lessons is I believe is going to be kind of the answer to that, is to try to start changing what you're doing into something that's more project-based learning. But I don't think that teachers are going to go anywhere. I think that's going to be a enduring thing because we have so much of the human connection. The feedback is right there. We do need to get your feedback, and it will send you a link. And I'm happy to hang on if anybody wants to have any other deep philosophical discussions about the future or anything else, but I want to go ahead and pop this in so people who need to go to another meeting are not waiting on it. And then I am going to share the link to the whole thing. If you want to download it from Canva or make your own copy and use it, you're welcome to do that. And I forgot to put the HTTPS in the front of it. And so I will have to do that for it to be an active link. So let me try that again. :// Okay, that one should be an active link if I did it correctly. Thank you, Brian. It's still not an active link, but you can copy and paste it. Okay, and I'm going to just close out the presentation so that I can get that link to it for anybody who wants it. And so I'm just going to drop that link in the chat as well. And this will, if I just copy the link to it this way, I'm not going to make you all editors though, sorry. Okay. Cancel. Okay. That's in my other account. Let me open it up in this account where I can have the authority to do that. So while I'm fumbling around, if anybody wants to come off mute or drop something in the chat, please feel free to do so. I need to get the correct account up here so I can get that link from it. I have to go back into my DPI account. And thank you, Lauren, Brian, Jen, Lindsay, Jill, everybody who came and assisted. I appreciate it. I'm going to get a tab over here and I'll drop that link in just a second. Switch to my work account. Any questions or anything in the chat, or if you want to come off mute, please feel free to do that. Okay, and now I'm going to drop that link in for you, Melissa. Okay, and do you know how in Canva to download it? You just go to the share button, and you can download it as a PDF, as a PowerPoint, pull it into Google Drive. We have a notebook LM training that Stacy did, the last one, and actually Lauren's working right now on getting that one uploaded. It will be on the website soon. We got behind on that because we were all gone last week. But we have done several trainings on Notebook LM. And I imagine with the recent changes coming up that have happened, we'll probably try to squeeze in another one in the near future before school starts. So Lauren says the Notebook LM one will be on there by tomorrow afternoon, and it's called Notebook LM Lesson Lab. And so the presentation is already there, but I just got the video to her yesterday, so we're getting that ready. Lauren's our video wizard, so she gets it all cropped and edited and gets it uploaded to YouTube, and then we put it on the website. Okay. And hey, Mary, good to see you too. Thank you for coming. I have lots of my former colleagues here today. My Western people. Okay, happy to answer any questions or just chit chat. I'll sit around for a little while, but it is 4:31, so if you have another meeting at 4:30, is Catherine there too? Catherine Bailey? Hello, Catherine. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Hopefully that's helpful to you. I'd love to see if you create some gems you want to share. Feel free to drop them on that Padlet later, or email me and tell me about them. I'd love to have them. Yes, Melissa, I did a webinar on Canva Code maybe a month ago, and it's already uploaded to the website. It's an amazing tool. It's called Vibe Coding with Canva, and it's already uploaded to the website. There's a presentation and a video recording of it. So lots of cool things you can do with Canva Code as well. Mm-hmm. Any other questions or comments, or anybody want to come off mute and just chit chat? We're happy to do that as well.
Hey, Vera.
Hey.
I have a question. So I know a couple years ago, I paid for a program where I went on and I could do different little things like this. They were recorded and you watch them, and some were live. And then I would get CEUs for each one of those that I did. When we go on, like say I go watch that Canva code with DPI, does it come up as some kind, because they would just give a certificate for each one you did. They weren't long, maybe an hour or so. Does it set up like that here?
Only if you attend live. For the recordings, we don't do that. However, you know, a lot of the districts have they have the ability to do that if they want to include them in their professional development. But that would be something you would have to talk with your digital learning specialist or whoever, if they will allow that, and they might require you to submit some kind of an artifact or something. But they're certainly welcome to use anything that we do for CEUs. We can only do it though if you're live in attendance and fill out the feedback form at that time.
Okay, so is there any way it tracks when I do it, so I can show that I went and did something that might not have been live, or it doesn't track it at all?
It doesn't track it unless you're here live. We don't track it. We are coming up though this fall. We're going to have some micro-credential pathways that will be automated like that. That will give you CEUs through. Jill, help me out through Nessus. Through Nessus, we're going to have those set up with Nessus, and so that will happen. And we're also going to have some courses that Friday Institute is working on, and so we will have more opportunities like that coming up this year. We just don't have the webinar set up that way unless you're attending live.